2021, two screenwriting legends joined forces to bring the world something different.
The best bits.
Will Collins and Kevin Lehane, masters of storytelling, teamed up to create the ultimate show about films. And pick favorite scenes from randomly selected, weirdly specific themes.
Best twist ever.
But this is not that podcast.
The impulse is to say hello and
the best bits.
Yeah, it's right there on the tip of my tongue.
It's us. We are back. We used to say all the time on our older podcast. For those that remember the older podcast, 6 months ago we finished up a show called The Best Bits, which we started in lockdown, which was about us picking our favorite scenes from randomly selected, weirdly specific themes. On that, we would have a very slick intro, which is that I'm a writer of 1 and a bit films and 3 and a bit episodes of TV, and I'm joined by my co-host, a writer of how many films is it now?
Hello, I'm Will.
Wait, I'm gonna get to it.
I haven't spoken anything yet.
I know.
What was it? Was it 3 and a bits? Was it? No, it wasn't. It was 3 films.
I don't know, but you've got a 4th film coming out and a 5th film and whatever. Yeah, so this is Will, my co-host, who's also written
and stuff. The backs of crisp packets and cigarette boxes and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm also a screenwriter. We're both professional screenwriters. And I've done Wolfwalkers and Song of the Sea and various things for Cartoon Saloon. I did a Star Wars Vision for True Cartoon Saloon with Lucasfilm, and been nominated for 2 Oscars, 1 a BAFTA. And if the stuff didn't... it's...
And I've never won anything in my life. I've not even won a scratch card. I was nominated for a Razzie, but I lost that as well. And that's the rapport between the two of us. We're both 2 middle-aged Irish writers who've known each other for 15 odd years. We record remotely. We loved doing The Best Bits for 4 years, that podcast. This is going to be a similar kind of show, but more concentrated in that it's going to be straight conversation, less production on our part. Hopefully that means that we'll be coming to you more regularly, but we're still going to be talking about films and things that we're watching, which is where the title comes from, screen, play.
Play, yeah. Which is kind of what ended up being the rapport that we developed very, very quickly when we started the other one, where we just found ourselves messing. We felt like we were kind of 2 messers in the back of a classroom, and it was just enjoyable to hang out and nerd out about films that we liked and be positive about films that we liked. Film positive. That's what we are, I feel.
Yes. Screenplay, the title with the comma in there is important because it's like we're just going to play. And I think the idea for it came about where there was that pub that was called Nowhere Special. So when the fella would get home and his wife would say to him, "Where have you been? Nowhere Special." So what have you been working on? Our screenplay. So yeah.
Very good.
This is the podcast where we procrastinate on mic together.
Yeah, that's kind of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity for us basically to take the core the core elements of what was The Best Bits, which was a great format in my mind, and create a kind of a concentrated version of that, as you use that term off mic already, and I thought that was a good way to reference this. But yeah, it's just about us trying to be a little bit more topical. We'll be able to move a little bit quicker in this format, edit a little bit faster, get more content out more regularly and consistently. And
if somebody dies, we'll do an episode on them. So fingers crossed, lots of really important, good people in the film world die. So we can come on. Because one of the topics we were thinking about was like when David Lynch died, it was like, that'd be a great topic. We get on and we talk about our favorite David Lynch films.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to do. Like when you said that, I just went,
fingers
like,
crossed.
for instance, if we're doing that, we'd be probably talking about presidential, deaths, movies where presidents die or something like that. If we
Plots and prayers.
Give an example. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of it. We just want to move a little bit faster. And what we're going to do is maybe just share our favorite films from that certain topic, a top three maybe, and then, give
The
each other
little
homework maybe at the end.
the little sort of slogan to keep it straight in my head was we were going to do topical and top three. So take
Mhm.
something topical, and for this episode, it's back to school time. We're back on mic, which is like being back to school in some ways. And we're going to talk about our favorite sort of films that are set in and around schools.
There are so many subgenres that you can break the whole fucking thing down into. As I used to do in the best bits, I used to just go, "Oh shit, what way am I going to approach this really large, expansive topic?" Because you can do it from the point of view of the students, you could do it from a coming of age point of view, you could do it from the point of view of the teachers, you can do it from,
You've also got different genres. You've got comedies, you've got coming of age, as you said. We did a great episode on the best bits. We're going to be doing this an awful lot, or I'm going to be doing it an awful lot, which is going to be telling you, if you've never listened to the best bits, go back to that podcast, listen to our coming of age episode.
I don't want, if it's going to be one of your picks, I don't want you to mention it, right? But if you think back in your history, what's history of film watching, what's one of the earliest films set in or around a school that made an impression on you? Now, if it's one of your picks, don't mention it. But I'm just basically, this is me kind of going around, not asking. This is kind of like me asking what's an honorable mention. Do you remember anything? You kind of go, "Oh, that was set in a school," and actually that was.
I remember Kindergarten Cop.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, when I was a kid, I didn't want to watch films about stories set in schools.
Yeah,
that was a
that's
lot of TV
understandable.
stuff. Be watching Saved by the Bell.
Because they were easy to do, because it was, you had a location for it
Home and
for
Away.
TV.
All the girls in their
Yes.
summer dresses going to school.
Beverly Hills 90210.
That's true, but that was when did that start? Because that felt like a very sexy show, and
Early 90s.
yeah.
That
So I don't
wasn't
think
a
I would have.
sexy show.
Beverly Hills 90210. Yes, it was.
No, was it?
I thought it was.
My
Andrea.
nan was
God
watched.
almighty,
My
she
nan
was-
used to watch it all the time. What's his name? Who's the sexiest Beverly Hills 90210 one? Yeah,
I'm thinking of the
probably-
Simpsons thing where it's like he's the star of 90210. He's 38 years of age and he smiles and it's all wrinkles. Luke Perry.
Well, that was always the thing. Actually, is bring it up when you see there was an for instance, in case you bring up Greece, when you look at Greece.
Why did you
today
say that now?
particularly-
Because I am going to bring up Greece, so that is one of my picks, and I'm going to
Yes.
take it off.
No, because when you look at Greece, they were like 40-year-olds playing teenagers. And this, as a kid, when I used to watch teenage movies,
Fuck,
you
I
used
have
to
to
see
change my
these
list.
20, 30-year-olds who were supposed to be teenagers. And it made me feel so much more, I felt so much more inadequate, because I was like, when eventually am I going to, I used to think, when am I going to look like them? When am I going to be as mature? When am I going to have a car? When am I going to have like a wife that's not a wife?
Well, congratulations, baby. You look like them now. You look like you should be graduating high school in 1978 in Rydell High.
Yeah. And it wasn't until I feel like in recent years, in like the last 20 years, maybe since Superbad, maybe, that when we look at high school movies, the kids, these high school movies have kids in them that look like they're the correct age for, the characters that they're playing, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. But genuinely, I had Grease at my number 3. Though I know you only watched it because we talked about musicals on an episode of the Best Bits, Best Musical Number, and you weren't as hot as I was. I still find that film the music is fantastic. John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John, brilliant. I just love that film. And I know it's a bit naff, but
You're reminding
I
me
enjoy it.
you were reminding me of this wasn't a film that's on my list to even make my short list or long list or whatever list. But in
We're
the
a film
film Son of
podcast.
Rambo, this is what we're a film adjacent podcast. That's what I would call us. But you remember Son of Rambo?
I've never seen it.
Oh, you know what? It's well worth a watch, I think. I really liked it. But in Son of Rambo, right, there's a moment where it's this kids in a school and they become friends by trying to make a movie, trying to do their version of the movie Rambo, okay? And they bring together, a collection, a film crew, in the form of their students. But it's set in an English school, and a little bit like that, to what you're saying, a group of French students, like exchange students, joins the school for a couple of months, and when the bus pulls up with the French students, the doors open, and it's like a waft of smoke, and the camera slows down, and this kid comes out with this amazingly fucking impressive mullet. And remember Michael Jackson's leather jacket from Thriller, the red leather jacket. He
Yeah.
walks out walking through a cloud of smoke with Thriller going on the background, and he is the epitome of cool. And everyone in the English school are going, "Oh my god!" And he's so aloof. So he's kind of like the side kind of cool character, that's just there. This almost like this, unspeaking. I can't just man with no name, man with no name. He doesn't. He was effortless and how cool he was throughout the whole movie, right? But at the end of the movie, the French students have to return, right? And we watch him depart. He kind of all the girls are swooning over him, and he kind of gives them little bits of pieces, and they faint. And the kids are, that he's made the movie with. He pats them on the back and said, "Well done, kids. Ooh, you are good, whatever." He gets onto the bus, and the camera cuts to the inside of the bus with the French students. And all the French students tear the fucking piss out of him. They throw bags and paper and bottles at him. And he is the outcast in his school. And it's just when we have that flippant perspective, all of a sudden it's just like, oh shit, the guy we thought was this amazingly cool guy was actually a complete fucking nerd. And it was the school punching bag on the flip side. And it was a brilliant cutaway. I thought it was just one of my favorite things of that film.
That's what I love about films is, and I think Roger Ebert said it, they're empathy machines. So if you're watching that as a kid, just that flip, suddenly you have to recontextualize everything and go it's all about perspective.
Yeah.
Even though that's a gag and it's a joke, but that would land with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love Grease because I just felt like Danny Zuko.
You were Danny Zuko. Oh, Olivia.
Can I tell you so that when we were thinking, because we've only just really decided on starting the new podcast in the last few days, and this topic about 2 days ago, whatever, I put one film on my watch list. I wanted to watch a film called Eighth Grade because you talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
Is that on your list?
Yeah. It's not. And the reason it's not on my list, I was considering putting it on my list. The reason it's not on my list is because I don't think it's about the school experience as much. It's more about the teenage experience. So it's about her relationship with her dad and her relationship with her friends. So it's school adjacent, but I was seriously considering it. I think it's a beautiful film by Bo Burnham.
You also just talked about it on the last bonus show on our Patreon.
Yeah. It's a gorgeous film. If you haven't seen Eighth Grade, it is such an empathetic, tender, I would feel insightful character portrait of what it is like to be in the tumultuous, center of being a 13 or 14-year-old girl going through middle school and that awkward age, just desperate to fit in.
I watched the film for this episode that I'm not putting on my list, but I may as well talk about it now because I just watched it, and that was Over the Edge.
Welcome to New Granada, where people come to escape city life. It has safe streets, clean air, good schools. It's a perfectly planned community, but something strange is happening. Something that wasn't part of the plan.
Seems to me like you all were in such a hopped-up hurry to get out of the city that you turn your kids into exactly what you're trying to get away from.
Something that could drive this town over the edge.
You are to take these home to your parents, is to let them know about a special emergency meeting to discuss the problems about your people.
Over the Edge was a 1979 sort of kids go berserk film from Jonathan Kaplan. He's the director of Project X and The Accused and things like that. He just recently
Oh.
died.
Tension.
We were just talking about Project X like on the Discord in the last day. Wow, I've not heard this.
Because of that, because I mentioned him
Oh,
in that film,
right.
so I brought up Project
Okay.
X as context for who this guy was. So Over the Edge is kind of a bit of an after-school special kind of film, but obviously it's got a lot more bite and a lot more bad language in it. Matt Dillon's first film. It is set in Colorado in a small sort of like a not a sundowning town, but a town where there's not much for kids to be doing. There's only one rec center, which is kind of like a little social club. It's like a cowshed that these kids hang out in, where they've got pool tables and table tennis and stuff like that. And all the kids are like 14, 15, 16, and they're all smoking and stuff.
Is over the edge.
Yeah, the film basically follows these kids who are really like bucking against authority, and two of them run away and one of them gets shot dead by a police officer that have been harassing them. He's got like a gun that's got no bullets in it, and he aims it at the police officer. The police officer kills him. And the kids then go fucking berserk and they riot. And during a school assembly with the teachers, they lock all the parents in and they basically burn the school out of it and stuff. Very 70s, real sort of slice of life kind of film. The performances from the kids, fantastic. Like, the great thing about those 70s kind of films is they're focused on a naturalism and an authenticity.
Yeah.
Like, they want to put across what is authentic to audiences. They're not interested in presenting an aspirational version of America. They really want to show you what it is like out there for certain demographics, we'll say. And all that stuff I love, but it did have a few issues which I also felt with The Accused, because we watched The Accused for courtroom dramas when we did the old podcast. And The Accused to me had this sort of like TV movie vibe to it at times, this sort of very heavy-handed maudlin score. And Over the Edge, well, the subject matter is really like gritty. He still has this tendency to use these very plaintive, mournful scores that nowadays, maybe it's just coming to it like 50 years on. It's a bit naff, it's a bit cheesy. This sort of sad music is these kids are like smoking and copping off with each other and talking about their dreams and stuff. But I watched it for this.
Would you recommend it?
Yes, I'd recommend it because it's one of those 70s films that not many people have seen. It started Matt Dillon's career. I think he was discovered for that film. And I gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd. Follow us on Letterboxd. But I wouldn't put it on this topic because while there are scenes set in schools and they do set the school on fire and stuff like that, it's more about the rec center or the lack of amenities for kids. And it's funny when you look at these old films, how much of the problems have only gotten worse. Like over the decades where third spaces are completely gone. These kids had a third space where they'd all hang out together. I talked about the U Club that I had. Did you have a U Club growing up?
No, but there was one, but I only learned about it like when I was like 16 or 17.
Nobody told you?
No one told me. No one invited me.
I split my head
There's no
open in the
Will's
U
Club.
Club.
Well, you probably deserved it.
I actually did, you know. I was sitting on a high stool waiting for my chance to play on the pool table. And I was rocking back and forth on the pool table. And one of the older lads said, "Stop that, you'll fall." And of course, that's just catnip for me, where I was like, "Oh yeah, will I? Will I?" And I did. I fell down behind the stool and cracked my head off, not the skirting board, but like the little pipe that ran along. Split the back of my head open. And I had to go down and get stitches in the back of my head.
And
there's a lesson there.
There's a lesson there somewhere. I'm not really sure what it is. Can I jump in and just briefly mention, because I've been trying to curate a selection of films for this film club, I've been desperately just grabbing films and just watching bits of them and seeing if they would, be suitable and whatnot. And I've been focusing on the angle of the teacher, right? Because there aren't that many. There's a whole genre of like, stories set from the teacher's point of view. But I picked up on a few that I hadn't watched that came up on a number of lists that I found out there. One being Stand and Deliver. Did you ever hear of Stand and Deliver?
No.
Stay awake as you're waking up. Wake up this morning, how are you? Bring toothpicks. You pinch open your eyes.
Can we talk about sex?
We discuss sex, I have to give sexual homework.
I wouldn't do that if I was you. I'd lose a finger, I won't be able to count to 10.
At a tough school, someone had to take a stand, and someone did. Now the critics stand up and cheer for Stand and Deliver.
It starred Edward James Olmos. It was from the 1988, I think it was. And it's set in, it's got the guy, Lou Diamond Phillips. It's set in a high school in Los Angeles. And Edward James Olmos it's a true story, based on a true story. He comes in, he's after leaving a kind of a high-paying IT job, effectively.
Is this on your list? This is one of your top 3.
No, it's not on my list. It's just one of the films that you were bringing up that I watched, and I said, you know what? I'd seen the trailers for it. I'd never watched it. I might as well just bring it up. I did enjoy it, actually, but it didn't land in my final 3. But I thought I'd bring it up the same way you're bringing up Over the Edge. So he's teaching this group of troubled Latino students. There's gang fights and whatnot, and there's literally gang members in his classroom. Because it's the 1980s, it feels like it's got more of an edge and a bite to it, and I really dug that. And James Edward Olmos, he actually was nominated for Best Actor for the Academy Awards that year. But it's funny how you talk about things not getting better over the years, because I watched that, which was it was a film set in the 1980s. And then I watched another one that was up on a list called Freedom Writers, which starred Hilary Swank, which is also based on a true story, also set in Los Angeles. Also, this optimistic, hopeful teacher who wants to go into a troubled kind of projects.
There's a whole subgenre of them.
Yeah. But these are stories that are set like decades apart, and it got worse. In Stand and Deliver, when James Edward Olmos is going into the school initially, he's going to the receptionist, and there's a police officer there, and the secretary is saying, "Yeah, it's in the corner," and he's filing a report. It's feces in the corner. So in that situation, they've called the cops because there's shit in the corner, right? Cut forward, a decade, and they're calling the cops because kids are coming to school with guns and shooting each other, and it just gets worse. You know what I mean? So the depiction of how bad school is went from feces in the corner to guns to apocalypse. So it's I suppose if you, as watching them through the decades as they were kind of set in each decade, it was like a chart of how underprivileged areas in America are on this sliding curve downwards. And it was bleak. That's one thing I got from it. I went, Jesus, this is a pretty damning indictment of where.
And then it gets really bad when you get to like the mid-2000s and like School of Rock. It's like, fuck me. They have teachers that they're not actually even teachers. They're pretend teachers.
Yeah. You can just get in and do that shit.
Did you ever see Lean on Me? I remember that one.
Oh,
it was Morgan Freeman.
What is that one? No, I've not seen that one. I know the name, definitely. I'm going to look it up. Tell me about?
I remember there was a scene in that where they sing that song. Lean on me.
And directed by John G. Advilson.
Yeah, from
Advilson.
Rocky and Karate Kid. Then you had, Sister Act 2.
I was just surprised.
Sister
Act 2, right. And they sing Sister Act 2.
Dangerous Minds, the Michelle Pfeiffer one. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's none left, because I've been laughing and laughing so long that even my mom thinks that my mind is gone, but I never. Oh, fuck.
And do you remember the music video to that was clips from the film? It was like a proper, like.
It was Michelle Pfeiffer sitting in the dark and he was like facing her.
Yeah, but then they would insert clips from the movie as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they used to do that all the time. Do you remember when films would actually have music videos?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm referencing. It was like that era of you need the companion music video, hit song
Happy
to
Days.
help promote the film.
There was a lot of them. Yeah, there was a whole genre, the music of the heart.
So what you doing, man? You trying to kill me? Welcome to East Harlem.
I think I know these students. Their attention span doesn't go past do, re, mi. Maybe on a good day I can get them to fa.
I think you're underestimating them. Any child can learn to play the violin. Okay, that's enough. Thank you. You stunk. Hey, no guns. Who's talking? Listen to me. Don't do that. Who wants to be kicked out of my class? Why? The violin's for wimps. You didn't give me a good enough reason, so you're staying.
I was reading about Music of the Heart, the Wes Craven one, where he did actually a non-horror film, and he had Meryl Streep in it, and the background to that, where it was originally, it was originally going to be Madonna, and
Aidan Quinn's in it.
Yes, Gloria Estefan. Meryl Streep was saying she'd just done 2 films and she was exhausted, and the project was getting shut down, and she got a letter from Wes Craven. Now, Meryl Streep wouldn't have seen any of Wes Craven's movies, like The Hills of Eyes and Nightmare on Elm Street and what have you. This was, I think he just done Scream. Yeah, he did. He did Scream, and the Weinsteins did Music of the Heart, I think, to get him to do Scream 2, something like that. There was some sort of like tit for tat there. It was like, look, lads, if you want me to do this, you've got to give me something here. And Madonna had left the project. She'd been on it for ages. She'd been learning how to play the violin and stuff. She left it, and Wes Craven wrote a sort of a pleading letter to Meryl Streep. And she got this letter, and her husband walked in on her, and he said, "What's wrong? Why are you crying?" And she said she'd never been written a letter by any director in any point of her career, and it was a beautiful letter where Wes Craven was pouring his heart out to her, because he'd been a teacher, and he spoke about what it meant to him and the connection that you have with students. And she thought it was such a beautiful letter that she had to do this film. So it was always kind of random, where you think, Meryl Streep's doing a Wes Craven film?
I would like you all to play from your heart. Play like I know you can play. Just play from here.
But it was because of that letter, because he poured his heart out to her. She said, okay, we'll do it. She needed 2 months to learn how to play the violin, and she spent 6 hours every single day being taught by one of the best violinists at the time how to get her positioning right and to be able to play. And then she had to play at Carnegie Hall, and she was talking about that at the end of a 2-day shoot where they had thousands of extras and students and stuff, where they were playing with the best musicians in the world. They wrapped at like 4 a.m, and she walked up to Wes Craven and said, "My God, wasn't that incredible? Like, just, can you believe that we've just played Carnegie Hall?" And Wes Craven looked at her like she was insane, because it had been a crucible for him. He had to wrangle kids, thousands of extras, live musicians, and get this film shot with his star Meryl Streep. And he had a horrendously traumatic 2 days trying to film this, and she just had an absolute ball playing on stage at Carnegie Hall. But yeah,
the different experiences, the different perspectives, even on a film set, is it's
I love those kind of stories.
Well. You've actually set me up. I went and watched another film that was about a music teacher, or I watched some of it, called Mr. Holland's Opus, which I did watch on video when it first came out.
The Richard Dreyfuss film.
The Richard Dreyfuss film, with music by Michael Kamen, like a beautiful score actually, and
Alicia
it was
Witt.
one of those films that had kind of Oscar contention labels slapped upon it at the time, and I even remember at the time,
very sentimental film.
Yeah. But when watching it, I realized something that was fundamentally kind of missing, and I don't want this to be a kind of a me bashing this.
Oh,
film,
here we go.
But
Haterade.
no, I'm not, but it's going to set me up for the next film I just want to bring up. Was I really do think that the casting of Richard Dreyfuss fundamentally broke that film, because Richard Dreyfuss plays the type of teacher. Richard Dreyfuss looks like the type of teacher he's playing in real life, who is a kind of a sour, embittered, teacher who would rather be doing something else, if you know what I mean. And the problem is he looks too much the part. He feels like this guy is cranky. He doesn't want to be there. And I just could not endear myself to his character in any way, shape, or form. The casting of him is so wrong. He's got this kind of edge to him that did not suit the character. They needed to cast someone that was a little bit softer, had a little bit more warmth to him. Like,
Who would you cast?
You could do. There's so many out there. You could. Steve Martin would have been amazing in that role, or
John Candy.
John Candy would have been brilliant. Yeah, because just inherently the casting, you bring so much just by an individual's presence, their personality, their aura. Even if you've got a cranky character that on the page is a really kind of cynical and kind of beaten down type of individual, but if you cast contradictory to that, it can elevate, it can balance things out, and that kind of mess with that film. Now, that's going to set me up for a film that was almost on my list. And it's a film where the central casting elevates the film to something that I think is a timeless classic, really. And it's the 1939 film, Goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Never be afraid, Chips, that you can't do anything you've made up your mind to. As long as you believe in yourself, you can go as far as you dream. Certainly you'll be headmaster, if you want to.
That was on my list, and I didn't watch it because I saw that it was a musical.
No, it's not a musical.
Am I getting fucked over by AI? Because when you Google stuff, it had musical comedy, Goodbye, Mr. Chips. There were two versions.
Oh, no, there were. I think, maybe Peter O'Toole did a remake, and maybe there was
in the 60s
remakes. There's been a couple of different versions of it. I'm talking about the 1939 version, which stars Robert Donat, who was in the 39 Steps, and he died quite young, actually. It's a film, I'm sure. Look, if people don't know what Goodbye, Mr. Chips is, it's this gorgeous little film that, even though it's made in the 1930s, it is quite airy and light and is brisk on its pace. It doesn't, it's not dragging. It's moving. It's telling the story of a teacher's life from when he first starts at this proper prep school, English prep school, to right to the end of his life. But what elevates it is the central performance of Robert Donat, who he was only in his early 30s.
I don't even know Robert Donat. What else was he in?
Oh, he was only in, you might have known him from the 39 Steps. Do you ever see the Hitchcock version of the 39 Steps? He's that guy. But he died quite young. He died of a brain tumor. His performance in that, he actually won the Academy Award for that performance, is so amazing. Because when we meet him, he's playing an 85-year-old man. And I genuinely looked at him and I went, oh, he's probably in his 60s. And when I actually went and looked at the details, he was barely 30 when he plays that character. And then we meet him as a young man, as a guy, as a 20-something-year-old joining the school for the first time. We follow his career. It's genuinely a beautiful, just tender story of a shy man who wanted to be in education, wanted to be the best teacher, but didn't know how to connect with his students. And it's slowly through years of choosing the wrong path or doing things the wrong way, does he slowly try it. He slowly starts to change his process and iteratively become a better and better teacher to ultimately becoming the most beloved teacher the institution has ever had. And it's just this gorgeous arc. It's a really gentle, life-affirming, just warm hug of a film. And it was almost on my top 3 list. I think it's very, very sweet. But it's a bit too British for my liking. Pip pip and all that.
Goodbye, Mr. Chips. Goodbye.
We'll have none of that here. Do
It's just
carry
a
on.
lot of that.
Yes. Do
It
be in
is a lot
touch.
of that, and they watch a cricket. They're watching cricket, and he punishes the kids by not allowing them to watch the cricket match, and they think he's a rotten old sod, sir. So it's all that sort of stuff.
You screwed me over with Grease, which was going to be my number 3. My
Sorry.
number 3 no is, and I'll tell you right, one of the aspects for how we want to approach this podcast is we both worked in Extravision. We were both like video clerks, where you'd come in and people would ask you, have you got the latest Julia Roberts film? Like, yeah, I do. It's over there by the Al Chapino film.
Julia Roberts.
But you recommend to people films that you'd seen,
Yeah.
or that you liked, that were in whatever specific category that they were coming to you with. So if somebody came in to me and go, have you got any good back to school films? I'd be thinking to myself, well, okay, let me think about this. Who's it for? Whatever. Kess jumped out at me, because it was like, it's not entirely about being in school, but the scenes in the school are so horrendous.
Who are you recommending this now? If someone comes into you now and they said, what sort of...
Somebody reeking in depression.
Yeah, because I think Kess is a beautiful, masterful film. But it's like I would recommend that with a note of caution.
Listen, I worked in Blackpool. Most of these people, all they wanted to see was like, have you got Heart to Kill?
Yeah, that's my thing. Who are you going to recommend Kess to?
Nobody. Honestly.
Nobody.
I don't even think we would have stocked it. Another film that jumped out at me where it stuck with me. I know Americans didn't like it at all. And I have a theory on that, which is it's more exotic to me, not being an American high school kid.
So this isn't Kess, obviously. You moved on to your second film on your list, is it?
Yeah.
So you're not doing
which is
this
what
in Kess. Okay, right.
Yeah. These are films that are not on my list. These are like, they were around
they
my
aren't
list.
on your list. Oh, okay, right. Honorable
I'm
mentions.
getting it onto my list. I'm going to try and talk quickly. Elephant, which was inspired by the Danny Boyle produced Alan Clark film Elephant.
Mom's gonna kill you. What? What are you doing? Dad, I'm driving. Get out of the car, Dad.
Oh.
We talked about this in the
Is
podcast.
that the Gus Van Sant film?
Yes, the Gus Van Sant one, but I wanted to say that it takes its name from the original Danny Boyle produced Northern Ireland Troubles film, where it's basically just people walking into scenarios and shooting somebody dead. Kids playing on a pitch, guy walks up, shoots one of the kids dead. A fella cleaning a swimming pool area, walking and shooting a person dead, and it just keeps going on and on and on like that. It's like 40 minutes long of just verisimilitude moments of people just being killed and executed. No commentary, no justification what's happening, and it was kind of like a hammer blow to the British audience about what was going on in Northern Ireland. Controversial film. We've had listeners talk about how much they really loathe that project. I found it very powerful. But Elephant, the Gus Van Sant film, follows a similar approach, which is you're just a fly on the wall, just following this kid as he's going about his day, walking the corridors of this American high school. And for me, being brought along on this kid's journey as he's walking from the gymnasium through the hallways, feeling like the kid's better angel or one of his devils on his shoulder, just as he's going about his day, until it inevitably ends up in a school shooting.
Nothing. You're crying.
Yeah.
Is something bad?
I don't know.
And it's not gratuitous. I just found it really, I suppose, memorable is probably the best way to put it. Obviously, in the States, that's an issue that still goes on. They still have mass shootings continuously. Have you ever seen Elephant?
I have not, and it is on my list, and I will try and seek it out and get it watched. So will I actually just go with my number 3 on my best back to school movie?
Go for it.
And it's a recent film. It was actually, I think, a high on your list from 2023. I think it might have been my favorite film.
That's on my list.
2023. Okay, I'm going to hold off. Right.
Okay.
What's your number 3, Kevin?
My number 3 is Election. No. That's my number 2. My number 3.
Okay, what's your number 3? Oh yeah, have to find a new number 3. That's fine.
My number 3 is The Breakfast Club.
It is now 7:06. You have exactly 8 hours and 54 minutes to ponder the error of your ways. Any questions?
Yeah. Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
A brain, a beauty, a jock, a rebel, and a recluse.
Can't believe this is really happening to me.
Before this day is over, they'll break the rules.
Chicks cannot hold their smoke. That's what it is.
Bare their souls.
I'm a nymphomaniac.
Are your parents aware of this?
Take some chances.
Being bad feels pretty good, huh?
And touch each other in a way they never dreamed possible.
Why'd you do that?
Because I knew you wouldn't.
Okay, good. That would have been an honorable mention for me. Let's chat about The Breakfast Club. Why is it on your list?
Because it's a brilliantly written chamber piece that I have watched a few times over my life and taken different things away from it each time. It's one of the great John Hughes comedies. It's obviously a little dated now when you look back at it and how quaint the archetypes are drawn between the preppy girl and the bad boy and the jock and the nerd and the alternative girl and stuff. But from a screenwriting perspective, to be able to take kids in detention and make it into a riveting comedy that's also got a lot of heart. It's just a very compelling film, and I think it's one of the best of the genre, especially that Molly Ringwald set of films. It's my favorite one that she's done. In her collaboration with John Hughes. It's got that great song at the end. Don't you forget about me.
And it's also probably like the high point of the 1980s era of high school movies, where that subgenre exploded in the 1980s. Probably started by Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
But very different to that, because it's dealing with a lot of existential questions. These are kids that are wrestling with their identity. So they're very broadly drawn, but they're also kids from completely different backgrounds, even though they're all white kids. But they come to an understanding and a kinship amongst each other. And I've always loved in particular films where you take characters, it's almost like, even though this is probably outrageous to compare it to, but 12 Angry Men, where you take people who are very separate from one another, have very different viewpoints on life, and you take them to a place where they may not be friends at the end, but they definitely have a better understanding of themselves and of each other. And the humanity of that I always find very moving. And you get a sense of the decency of the director or the writer, where they have committed to telling the story for an audience's perspective, for you to be able to sit there and take away from that your own sort of understanding of people in your own life, where you're in school and you're thrown together, and there are kids from very different backgrounds to yourself. I always remember, let me just say this, I always remember the principal coming into our classroom when we were about 12-ish in Cork. Something must have happened. Something must have been brought to the attention of the principal, maybe in a different classroom, and he decided to take a sort of a tour of the different classrooms. Or maybe I'm just fashioning that through the faulty aspect of my own memory, and he was just sort of stepping in because the teacher wasn't there. But he said to us, that it was something along the lines of alcoholism in Ireland, that everybody's dealing with it, and that it might not be you, but you might have a brother, or you might have an uncle, you might have a neighbor, it might be a parent. To keep that in mind whenever you're dealing with other people, because it's very close to home for all of you. It's not just so-and-so's dad's a drunk and let's take the piss out of him because his dad's a pisshead or his mom is an alcoholic or whatever. Maybe there was a kid being bullied. And because he said that, it stuck with me. And I guess he put it in everybody's heads where everyone was then going through the Rolodex and thinking, do I have a drunk? Is my uncle a drunk? Is my aunt a drunk? Is my neighbor a drunk? Is my brother a drunk or whatever? And I don't know what it was like for other people, but I'm sure that they could say, actually, yeah. And because those are conversations that you wouldn't have with each other, but you take that on board, and it just broadened your perspective a little bit as a kid, where you thought, oh, hang on a second, maybe we are all the same here.
Yeah.
And with films like The Breakfast Club or with 12 Angry Men, there is that push by a filmmaker to say, you're not so different, that you might be like the antagonist of the story, or you might be like the protagonist, but see how these people relate to each other. Sit with it, take it into your own life. Maybe you're dealing with a parent that is difficult, or a school situation which is hard, or whatever. But we're all very similar to one another, and that, to me, as a writer, has been somebody who's had this compulsion to want to tell stories. I've often wondered, why are we driven to tell stories, and why do we love hearing stories? Even if you may not be a writer or may not be somebody that cares about movies that much, or reading or whatever, you do still gossip with people, and you want to hear what's going on in people's lives, like what have you been up to, and the person will tell you a story, and it will have a beginning, middle, and end, and whatever. And there's an aspect to that which is about us relating to one another, trying to understand this life that we're muddling our way through, and glean knowledge from those situations so that we can apply to our own lives. It's like you're sitting around the campfire and you're being told about your man that fought a wild cat and survived or a bear, and how he did it, his ingenuity, and and I feel like that's in our DNA, and that's why we tell stories. And so The Breakfast Club, for being a frothy story about a bunch of kids from different walks of life coming together, understanding each other, relating to each other, the virgin that is considered to be a slut or whatever. I think that's why certain stories endure. And I think The Breakfast Club is a great example of that.
It's one of those films out of that collection of 80s high school comedies that it dares to try and portray characters a bit deeper than the stereotypical jocks, because I think up to that point, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High was presenting the stereotypes, and that's what audiences had gotten used to when watching a high school music comedy or whatever it was, the stereotype, the jock, the nerd, and whatever it is. And this was trying to break those tropes, and as you said, yeah, it might feel a little bit dated now in certain ways, but it was groundbreaking at the time. And also that central message, which I empathize with, is that everyone on a daily basis is fighting their own battles and doing their absolute best to get through the day without suffering.
What battles are you fighting?
Great.
Tell us something.
Oh God, yeah. Internet connections, privacy in the hall, cold, on many battles. But yeah, so I think it's an honorable mention for me. I think it's a great film, and yeah, it's a good pick. And my number 2 is a film that I would have brought up in the old podcast, but it's a film that when I think back on movies set in schools, particularly when I was growing up and getting into cinema, this made a huge impression upon me. And it was Dead Poet Society, Peter Weir's film from 1989, with a script by Tom Shulman, which he won the Academy Award for.
I knew this would be on your list.
Yeah, I adore this film. I do think this film was a huge influence on me personally growing up. I think it's probably the reason I ended up writing a whole bunch of embarrassing bad poetry when I was in my teenage years, instead of, telling people I had a crush on them or I hated such and such a person. I would write poems.
Do you
That
still
would
have
be
those poems?
No, I think they're all gone at this stage, and probably for the best, Kevin. It's probably for the best.
I'm fascinated by that. What were the poems about other than crushes and people you didn't like? Like, what was
I
your
would say
favorite, or what was the one that
angst.
you thought I'm gonna do this again?
I think angst. I think it was a way of expressing the turmoil that was going on inside my head externally, where I was pretty much, I suppose I'm still the same
There
to
once
this
was a
day.
man from Kanturk.
On
God, he
on
was
the
an awful
surface,
Burke.
I think I come across as the steady Eddie, and I think everyone has
Do
their
ya?
has a
You
certain
think so?
external projection. I do think that,
Is that what you think?
and that's what you described me as. And but I think, but to the point of from the Breakfast Club, everyone's fighting their own battles every single day. So the only way I would vent, because I wouldn't even tell my closest friends, like, oh, I have a crush on this, or I wouldn't let people in, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't let people into my internal monologue, my internal kind
That I'd
of
agree with.
way of thinking. And but how I used to was how I expressed myself was through writing, was through poetry, or was through
Graffiti.
and poetry for me was graffiti, tattoos, tattoos. Um, and a huge influence was Dead Poet Society, was through Robin Williams coming into this cold, grey, oppressive school and just breaking down the walls and shaking conventions and saying, fuck this, carpe diem, seize the day, stand on your desks, say the words gawp, and listen to how delicious it actually sounds. And basically, he was basically introducing the kids to theater, performance, and creativity. And he was opening up
Self-expression.
their self-expression. Yeah, self-expression.
Because they were in a very rigid environment, which was about
Yeah.
conformity. And he was about getting
Yeah.
them to break out of that. There are certain kinds of films, though, like Dead Poet Society, which I would steer clear of rewatching because the ache of watching those films on the flip side now, when you're watching them when you're the age or younger than the characters, and the film is telling you seize the day, there's comfort in that. But when you're on the other side of it and the day is already gone, and you're watching younger people being told to seize the day, there's a sense of sadness that, as I said to you, I'm very nostalgic. So certain films like Dead Poet Society or Stand By Me, I end up being nostalgic for a world that I was never part of. Like, I never grew up in the 60s, but I'd be like, God, I'd love to be growing up in the 60s again. Wasn't it great?
Do you want to know something? Actually, something happened in real life, like here in the seat as I'm recording now, last week, like Monday or Tuesday last week. So there was I get involved. There's a lot of like amateur drama productions happen in the hall, and I because of my proximity and ended up being involved in whatever way I can help out. Well, anyway, there was in this most recent production, which was on last weekend or the weekend before, they had a young cast who had just gotten their leaving cert. Like in the middle of the production, they were on stage on the Wednesday night. They got their results on the Thursday morning or whenever it was, and they were back on stage that evening. Anyway,
Can I just
the
interrupt and
three-
say to people that don't know what we're talking about, the leaving cert is like the final exam that you would do in secondary school or high school in Ireland.
Yeah, so these kids had that, and they were all creative kids, theater kids essentially. And we had a great party; it was wonderful. But anyway, they were lovely kids, really talented kids. So anyway, it just turned out then after there was a big party here on the Saturday night. I was sitting at this desk Monday morning or Tuesday morning, and one of the kids came in because he had left some stuff behind, and he was going off to college. Starting college has started this week, and I said, "Oh, listen, you're off to college next week. What are you doing, and what's the story?" And he says, "I'm going to study music in specializing in guitar." I was like, "Cool, man. That's great. That's great." And I could see he wanted some advice from me. And you're talking about being on the other side of the coin. And I was sitting here going, okay, I'm someone who had a career in the creative arts for not 20 years, but heading towards 20 years at this stage. And I could see he was someone who was beginning his journey. And there were so many things I could have said to him, which were like,
Instead, you said, "Good luck.
watch out." But I said to him, you know what? You're young. He said, if you have the passion and you have the itch, you have to chase it, because that itch will never go away. So you should do it now. You should try and do it. If you can do it now. As long as you can figure out how to put bread on the table and pay your bills, that's the most important thing. But also, it's so important that you be a creative person. And I wish you well and good fortune out there in the world. But
That
in
sounds
my heart,
very doom laden, Will. That sounds so. If you said that to me, I'd be like thinking, that's the reason why I never told people I wanted to do film. I kept it a secret. I wouldn't tell anybody in
Right.
school, because they'd be saying to me,
Yeah.
"Do you know what? I'm fucking actually." When I think about it, they were right.
But this is the thing. It's like that's
"You
so.
gotta
That's what I
follow
said
your
to him.
dreams, and with the help of God, it might work out." So.
But this
You
is
do
the
you.
thing. You got to. We don't know. You don't know what it is, but you kind of have to do it. You know, it's an impulse. It's the creative impulse. If you have it, it's never going to go away.
No,
It's
if you've
never
got the
gonna go
creative
away.
impulse, you're fucked.
Yeah.
But that's life. You have to. Your responsibility in life is to experience as much of it as possible, and to not do harm to others. To just be a witness to all that you can create and all that others can create, and to contribute and enjoy it.
Mm.
That's it.
And one of the lessons I wish I had gone and said it to him, but I have said it to other people, which is a message that I do feel is being conveyed through Robin Williams' character in Dead Poets Society, is fill up. You don't know, maybe you haven't mastered anything, and don't expect
And
to ever
who's Philip?
master anything. Philip Seymour Hoffman, in actual fact, is the person who said that. He said, fill up. And I understand that sentiment of absorb as much. You're in this wonderful, wonderful phase of your education where you are still that sponge, and you open your pores and you let as many inputs get in there as possible. Be open. Be very, very open-minded, and fucking let it all in, and see what comes out in the cocktail of you and your talents, and how all that information gets shaken around, and that'll be unique and it'll be special. So you kind of have to have a little bit of faith in that, but just go out and seek it and be brave. That was another thing I said, was just you have to be a bit brave when you're going out there as well. So
Did you say
yeah.
carpe diem? I bet you wanted to.
So go on the fuck out of here now. I've got a deadline. Let me be.
Well, I
Yeah.
mentioned
But
this
anyway.
in our. Did you give me your number 2?
That Dead Poet Society was my number 2.
Oh, okay. So my number 2, I kind of mentioned in our, which was Election.
We'll move on now to the presidential race with 3 candidates running. The first is Tracy Flick.
One thing that's important to know about me is that I'm an only child. My mom is really devoted to me. She likes to write letters to successful women like Elizabeth Dole and Connie Chung and ask them what advice do they have for me, Tracy, her daughter.
The next candidate for student body president is Paul Metzler.
I just don't think somebody would do something like that on purpose.
I think you did it.
And if you want to keep questioning me like this, I won't continue without my attorney present. I do not often speak with you and ask for things, but now I really must insist that you help me win the election tomorrow, because I deserve it and Paul Metzler doesn't, as you well know.
Election was a whip-smart comedy that I loved. We spoke about it briefly on a prior bonus episode on our Patreon, because I recommended it to you for this cinema club that you do, to sort of put it on in the hall to show to people. The book is fantastic. The book is written from the perspective of the individual characters, like diary entries. It's such a unique way to tell that kind of story. It's Alexander Payne's black comedy on a go-getter played by Reese Witherspoon for a high school election, and a downtrodden, snivelling school teacher played by Matthew Broderick, and the clash of these characters where they are enemies to one another. And it's beautifully shot. It's very, very funny. It's one of my favourite high school set stories.
I just rewatched it last week. because you brought it up, and I was like, okay, I've got to watch this and, do a pre-watch to see if it would be appropriate for the crowd. I loved it. I had loved it previously when I saw it back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's a whip-smart satire, and it's a brilliant character piece. It's biting. It's really, really, really biting. I didn't sympathize with either Tracy Flick or Matthew Broderick's character, because I think it's such a brilliantly nuanced and biting character portrait of both of them. He presents himself, even though he presents himself initially as this really do-gooder of a teacher. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm happy doing what I want to do. And I'm just, everything's kind of by the book. But there's a moment that happens in the story, which is beautiful screenwriting planned to pay off. In an early scene, he comes into the school canteen, and it's brimming with lunches that are a week old by his other staff members and whatnot. And he's going to the fridge. He opens up the fridge. It's brimming with like old lunches, and he begins emptying out the discarding the old, crap. And what he ends up doing is he ends up picking an old Chinese box and just throws it over his shoulder, splatting on the ground. And the janitor sees this crap on the ground, and he's like, "Oh, someone's going to have to clean it up, and I'm going to be the one who's going to have to clean it up." And it was this wonderful depiction of the truth of his character, of Matthew Broderick's character, that he, in actual fact, is a self-serving, snide, uppity shit.
Yeah. He's status-driven, and that is what offends him about Tracy Flick, because she is a climber, and he's somebody who he'd love to be in her position.
And on the other side, Tracy Flick is ruthless. She's ruthless, and she's savage, and she's brutal, but she's also very, very determined, and she's so ambitious. She's going to achieve whatever she wants to achieve. My sympathies...
She becomes Hillary Clinton by the end.
Basically, effectively. My sympathies actually lay with the doofus, Chris Klein, the doofus brother, Chris Klein character. And my sympathies went with him. My sympathies also went with the kids, the actual vote counting kids. The kids who are actually, and this is a small, small role. The kids who had the duty of counting the actual votes, the tallies, and, them feeling, no, I did a good job. I did the right job. And you have Matthew Broderick, who does a shifty number of trying to pocket some of the ballots so that Tracy Flick doesn't win.
And it was such a great casting with him as well, having Ferris Bueller.
Being Ferris Bueller, 15 years previous, less. It's just an amazing bit of casting. It's a great film.
But you were saying about those young kids counting the ballots. There's a great scene.
Yeah, I sympathize with them, because they were doing an honorable job honorably, and they were taking pride in doing.
You said it was a great moment where he is hiding the ballots, and I cut you off.
Oh, sorry. And then when they both are in front of the principal, and this kid whose job it was to count the ballots took such pride and care and dedication in his job, he really struggles to accept that he had miscounted, because he was like, and he comes back and he goes, and what's wonderful, he goes and basically checks the receipts, and actually at that, all his diligence comes back to bite Matthew Broderick in the ass, essentially, or sting him in the eyelid, which is fantastic. Another fantastic gross detail, him being stung by a wasp in the eyelid. It's brilliant. Great fun.
And my last one, I think, is pretty obvious because it was on your list.
Oh, The Holdovers.
The Holdovers, yeah.
Every year at Barton Academy, students, faculty, and staff depart the campus for a 2-week winter break. But there are always an unfortunate few who have nowhere to go for the holidays. They're known as the Holdovers.
Mr. Hunnam.
Hello, Mary.
I heard you got stuck with babysitting duty this year. How'd you manage that?
He used to be a student, right? Yeah, that's why he knows how to inflict maximum pain on us.
I thought all the Nazis were hiding in Argentina.
Stifle it, Tully.
You just earned yourself a detention, sir.
Being here with you is already one big detention.
Son of a bitch, that's another detention.
Do you think I want to be babysitting you? No, I was praying your mother would pick up the phone or your father would arrive in a helicopter or a flying saucer.
My father's
to take you
dead.
We talked about this on, was it 2023? Like our best of 2023?
23. Probably, so we would have talked about it in 24, but it came out in 23, yeah.
Yeah. So go back to the Best Bits podcast and you can listen to me talk about that. But that's a film that I feel like it, as much as it's like a Hal Ashby kind of film, it's evoking that time period and that kind of cinema style. It also feels like it's heavily indebted to Dead Poets Society. Like, it feels like it's in that genre. It's definitely set in that kind of like preppy school setting, but it's a story that is coming at it from not just the teacher's perspective and the student's perspective, but also just the school lunch lady's perspective. And I thought that triumvirate, those three characters, it was such a beautiful film to look at, but also the spirit of the film was so decent. And you're having that meeting of mind again from characters who are very different from each other, like complete opposites on this triangle. They're on each corner, relating to one another, finding the shared humanity, having a Christmas that changes each of them, gives them back sort of what's lacking in their lives, which is that there's an innate sense of tragedy to each of them. And just by opening up and being vulnerable, disappointment, but also tragedy. There's a lot of regret there, like the mother that's lost a son, the guy whose life is just, it's not turned out the way it was meant to, and the kid that's dealing with very cruel parents and stuff, and the pressure of what he's supposed to become. That by opening up to one another, by being forced together and then opening up to one another, that I guess that's how connections are formed, is that you have to be open, you have to be unguarded, you have to be vulnerable. And by being vulnerable, you might get hurt, but you also might end up, if not being healed through a connection with somebody else, but healing someone else. And I love those kind of stories. I love when a film does it in an unsentimental way, that there's intelligence behind it and there's a coldness there that is almost more truthful, that it doesn't lay it on thick, like when I was talking about Over the Edge and that maudlin music where it's like you're reinforcing how I'm supposed to feel about this, when if you didn't do that, I'd probably be more moved by it. It's like we talked on the old podcast as well about what makes me cry is not people crying in films, but people trying not to cry in films. And with films like The Holdovers, unsentimentality makes it more moving. And I love that film. I thought it's a beautiful film. It's a very recent film, but I've had a few years now to sit with it, at least 2 years, and I still love it. And if you were coming into the video shop and saying to me, what would you recommend? I'd be like, have you seen The Holdovers?
Another reason I really like it, which kind of connects to The Breakfast Club, is the chamber piece quality of it. How these people see each other in different modes. At the beginning of the story, we have the teacher, the pupil, the canteen lady. And through the circumstance of being stuck in the school for a whole Christmas together, they are introduced to the other facets of each other. And a different relationship is formed, and a deeper understanding and appreciation of each other develops throughout the course of the story. And it's like that experience of, like, the experience of, like, when for instance, going back to school, when you see your teacher outside of the classroom, it feels really, really strange. Like when you're in a shop and all of a sudden you meet.
But The Holdovers, another Alexander Payne film, that's 2 on my list. I don't know what it is about his films. Yeah.
I totally disconnected that he did Election as well. That's mad. So that was The Holdovers. Is that your number one? Yeah. Oh shit! So my number one is an absolute banger from 1995. When it's on the telly, I have to watch it.
Clueless.
It's so much fun. It's Clueless. Is
it really?
School... Yeah, it's my number one. I love Clueless.
So, okay,
Like right now, for example, the Haitians need to come to America. But some people are all, what about the strain on our resources? And it's like, when I had this garden party for my father's birthday, right? People came that like did not RSVP. So I was like totally bugging. I had to haul ass to the kitchen, squish in extra place settings, and like people were on mismatched chairs and all. But by the end of the day, it was like the more the merrier. And so if the government could just get to the kitchen, rearrange some things, we could certainly party with the Haitians.
Wow. You guys talk like grown-ups.
Oh, well, this is a really good school.
Oh, wow. I think Clueless is just such a fun... It's such a fun time. It's, you know, how can I describe it?
And you can relate to it as well,
like,
you know.
It's but this is the thing. It's a story set in an affluent Beverly Hills high school. The main character is this gorgeous blonde Alicia Silverstone as Cher, which is what a brilliant character name. Is basically an adaptation of Shakespeare's Emma, I think, actually. And it ultimately is it's smart. It's compassionate and it looks great. It's constantly popping. It's forever funny. The characters are really rich and inviting. It's just a delightful story. And I love the I love the fact that
Did she do Fast Times at Richmond High?
I think she did. Yeah. She kind of started the high school the high school 80s boom. I just genuinely think Clueless is. And also, it probably launched Paul Rudd's career as well. Like, he's her stepbrother, and she has a crush on him, and she hates him as well. And you know,
very prescient. You know, if you look up dirty movies online, it's all about stepbrothers and stepsisters.
Amber, my plastic surgeon doesn't want me doing any activity where balls fly at my nose.
Well, there goes your social life.
It's a ubiquitous film. Everyone knows what Clueless is. I genuinely just get it's a happy film for me. That's what it is. It's a really happy film for me.
I'm glad you said that.
I love the script. I love the structure of the story. I think it takes several enjoyable turns, even when this cool kid comes to school and he is just, handsome and just so aloof and mysterious, and she has got such a crush on him, and she's doing everything she can to get his attention, and it turns out he's not interested in her because he's gay, and that's great. And her trying to transform Brittany Murphy and make her,
who was brilliant in it as well,
amazing, have her fall in love, and ultimately Brittany Murphy has to find her own path and can't anyway, and Cher even using her negotiating skills to bump up her grades. She's a bit like a Tracy Flick type character as well. She's so ambitious. She kind of she won't take no for an answer, and she knows that
But she's far more adorable and lovable.
Yeah, very adorable, very lovable, and it's just a fun, enjoyable teen movie, and makes me feel happy. And it's a school I wished I could have attended. I wished I could have been one of the cool kids in that school. And it's where when I was in actual school, that was the place I wanted to be, not my actual secondary school back in Cork. So that was my favourite.
Where you could play tennis as part of your PE.
I don't know. We just hung out as a part of our PE. That's what it was. So yeah, that's my kind of favourite back to school movie.
There's two other films that I'll mention that were in contention for me. Then if we were doing a top 10 list, they'd be in there. One of them is Rushmore, which I loved.
Yeah, mine too, yeah. Yeah.
And the other one is Mean Girls, the Tina Fey movie, the Lindsay Lohan one, which I feel like is a very clean successor to Clueless.
One I wanted to watch, but just haven't had the chance to watch it yet, and I can't believe I've missed it, is 10 Things I Hate About You, which I don't believe I've ever seen.
Also, I'd say another one here.
I've another one. I have one.
That's very good. Okay. We'll wrap it up. We'll get the episode in under 2 hours. We'll be great though.
Come on. What you add? What also you wanted to say? And
Bring It On. I loved Bring It On.
Oh yeah.
Whip smart comedy about cultural appropriation, about these white cheerleaders who steal from the black cheerleaders, and that is sort of slipped in there as sort of a lovely little undercurrent of satire.
Mm-hmm.
And social commentary, but also it's just a really fun comedy, and there's a few actors that I think have exceptional taste, and Kirsten Dunst is sensational. If you look at the films that she's done, the choices she's made, a child actor who managed to be in great films that were age appropriate for her and just continued to age into great roles right throughout her career, and is now even doing exceptional work with Civil War and stuff. And but Bring It On is a great comedy as well, in the same vein as Clueless and Mean Girls.
Another comedy that I think we have to add in there is Superbad, which I think is one of those first films that cast actual teens, or not all, not in the case of Jonah Hill, but the rest of the cast, there were actual teens playing teens in this film. That film was so funny. I remember laughing my ass off in the cinema. And I love the fact that it's written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, who are just titans in
And the characters are
industry
named
now.
after them, Seth and Evan.
And yeah, and it's basically semi-autobiographical of their relationship and what they were interested in during high school and their sense of humor. So there's a real...
I think Seth Rogen was 15 when he started his career. Like when he was...
yes.
He was doing Freaks and Geeks and things. I didn't include that because my memory of that is that it doesn't take place in school. Like there's a moment where they kind of are.
Yeah, it's around the school, but it's in my head. It's that high school type. The whole the community and the whole culture is there.
Like I would have put Ferris Bueller there then if that was like.
I kind of think it would be. I think Ferris Bueller is a kind of a high school movie as well.
And also Dazed and Confused.
Dazed and Confused.
That's like the end of school.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think they are kind of high school type. I would think they would fall under that bracket. But I think, listen, that was a great episode of The Best Bits.
Well, this is Screenplay.
It's amazing.
We're going to figure out the kinks. We don't even know how we wrap up these episodes. We don't even know what we don't have a wheel to spin. We don't have...
My idea, which I've been banging the drum for the longest time, is that at the end of an episode, we just give each other homework. Because one of my favorite things about doing the old show was wasn't the new discoveries, the watching something I would previously have kind of overlooked, or it was an oversight, would never have thought to watch before. And I would love for, you to give me something to say, hey, we'll add this to your watch list and make sure you watch that, and vice versa. If you could do the same for me, I think that might be a cool way to give us that.
You know what you've made me do, though, is you've made me want to go back and revisit Clueless.
Okay, that's good. So I think you should rewatch Clueless.
Also, I would say for our listeners out there...
8th grade.
Call to action for them.
8th grade, Kevin.
Yes. Omissions and oversights for our listeners. What have we overlooked and what have we failed to mention?
Oh, yeah.
Email us. Go to bestbitspodcast.com/contact. Let us know. Hopefully, here's the other thing. We're starting from zero with the new podcast. We had a lovely little listenership that was with us with the Best Bits. We're now starting in a landscape where we don't have social media. We don't have a way to get the word out there about the podcast. People that would have listened to us on the Best Bits, will they find us with this? If you enjoy it, let other people know about the podcast. We'd love to become like a regular, listen to show for people out there that would enjoy hearing two middle-aged screenwriters from Ireland talk about films that they love and just have the crack. And the other thing is just let us know what you think we could do better. We're totally open to feedback. We're writers. We get treated like shit constantly with notes. So we're used to it. So there's hardly anything you can say to us. And the other thing is we managed to go 4 years on the Best Bits without any really bad comments until the very, 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 very last episode when we had
the last month. We got someone gave us a negative.
It was the last week.
Oh Jesus! And what was it? Was it in relation to a commentary? I think that's what it was. It was a YouTube comment that someone just slated us on.
Yeah, it was something like they couldn't stand our voices, and that if we ever talked about our meaningless, pathetic lives again, that he would report our channel. It was really hateful and very, very funny. So
it was my dad.
It was actually me. I wrote it. But no. So this is Screenplay. Hope you like it. Hope to do more of them. And Okay.
And I want to echo what Kevin just said. We have no social media. The social media landscape is dead. I know it's all about it's an attention economy we're in. So we really are we need you to get the word out, and we'll hope for the best. That's really it. And yes, send us in your recommendations. Kevin, I want you to give me some sort of homework. That's what I want you to do.
Edit the episode. All right, goodbye, everybody. Keep it simple, stupid. That's the motto for this podcast. Kiss.
Yeah, very good. Bye-bye.
See ya.